Sup guys, Derek, moreplates.com. Today we're talking about Erling Haaland, the best footballer in the world according to this subreddit post, where apparently he is based in Brosciencepilled. Indeed, he is making the rounds talking about his secret diet where he is eating liver, sunning his balls, taking ice baths, and using blue light glasses. It's like, could you get more biohacker and ancestrally consistent hybrid than that, bro? So Rock and Mather, he basically makes this thread here about how he is how Erling Haaland is based in Brosciencepilled, and it's about his diet. And basically he goes on to elaborate how he does shit different than most people. In his documentary, The Scoring Sensation reveals his diet of hearts and liver. This is just one quirk of the former, I'm not even gonna try this, bro. I usually say really easy to say shit wrong. But this man's huge 6,000 calorie a day diet, it's pretty hefty, bro. The Norwegian series also reveals he only drinks water through a complicated filter system and tries to look at sunshine as soon as he wakes. Showing off huge chunks of heart and liver from his butcher, he says, "You other people don't eat this. By now, I am concerned with taking care of my body." It's like, you inferior subprimal piece of shit. You don't eat well. You don't eat like this, but I do. I think eating quality food that is as local as possible is the most important. People say meat is bad for you, but which? The meat you get at McDonald's or the local cow eating grass right over there? Fucking over there, bro. I eat the heart and the liver. Heart and liver are superfoods rich in vitamin B, iron, phosphorus, copper, and magnesium. In Holland, the big decision filmed ahead of his move from, I'm just gonna try it, Borussia, Dortmund City. The 375,000, wow, a week pound, I believe, instead of euro. Ace adds, "The first thing I do in the morning is to get some sunlight in my eyes. It is good for circadian rhythm." He's not inaccurate. "I have also started to filtrate my water a bit. I think I can have great benefits for my body." On a tour of City's training ground, Haaland tells chefs, "You should be my favorite people," as he requests a cheese and ham omelet. Haaland, 22, has previously confessed a love for doner kebab pizza, and he feasts on lasagna made by dad Alfie as part of his 6,000 calorie a day diet. Haaland's love of meat echoes chilling Hannibal Lecter in 1991 film The Silence of the Lambs. Erase Steenslid, Haaland's trainer at Dortmund, has joked how the star was always the closest to the buffet and his plate was literally a mountain of food. Alfie, who also played for City, said his son, who was inspired to eat healthily by seeing how it helped superstar Cristiano Ronaldo. He said he was told a story by ex-United player Patrice Evra about a lunch he had with Ronaldo, and Cristiano had fish, nothing else. Erling now tries to do the same. The 6'4" striker is also a fan of ice baths and glasses which filter out blue light to help him sleep. So this is presumably where he reveals his secret diet. He's holding this giant fucking, what is that, bro? Some secret thing. He looks very, very villainous and mischievous as he's looking at him holding this ancestrally consistent organ shit, and presumably it's just what we talked about.
Dette ikke du.
Så dette hjerte?
Hjerte.
Somebody in the comment section, please pronounce this.
Hjerte.
Og det spiser du. Og her har du leveren.
Leber, det vet du ikke.
Ja. Det her spiser du.
Ja.
Hyphy, bro. That is the secret diet. You don't even know what goes on behind the scenes to these guys to really optimize their performance. So, why would you want this? Is he becoming some like Liver King follower or, ancestrally consistent biohacking wizard? Or what is the deal? Is there actually utility to this? So this is where I figured it was worthwhile. Well, actually, let's look at the comments first. Maybe we have some interesting insight from the NPMD Tittygate section. "When it's really sunny, I lay out in the yard naked with my knees pulled up to my ears and aim my asshole straight at the sun. I don't know if it boosts my testosterone, but it sure gets the neighborhood a bit wild." Yeah, sending this to Rashford. Thanks, OP. Man's been looking better recently. Hope he develops because he's one player you just can't hate in my opinion. He's class. Dude looks like he suns his balls straight up. Sir, the reason I pulled you over today is because you look like you definitely sun your balls straight up. It's not they work, it's that they're superstitions that give them confidence. It's why the best baseball players in the world piss on their hands and do little rituals outside the batter's box. Jesus. Except stuff like blue light blockers do increase your sleep quality. Huberman Silverman talked about how good it is for your body to get a half hour of sunlight first thing in the morning. Ice baths have been known to long since help recovering the muscles and joints, etc. They work and you're uneducated about how, so you chalk it up to ritual. Do research before dismissing stuff. So at best, 50% has marginal benefit, and 50% is sun on your nuts like a moron and eating liver, which is probably fine, but that carries risk because it's so high in certain nutrients like iron, but no magic potion for performance. In Norway, liver is really common though, like it's one of the most popular toppings on bread. Wow, that's wild. Didn't even know that. As far as the actual food choices, what do I think about liver? What do I think about heart? Do I think that these things are just like hype? Do I think that they have utility? Balm Seed Daily Symbiotic, sponsoring today's video. It's the pre and probiotic 2-in-1 supplement that I have been using for a minute now for gut support essentially. Now, I don't actually have any major gut issues, but for me, this is more of like a preventative approach to avoid and attenuate, ideally, the progression towards something that could be problematic. I've seen a lot of people end up with leaky gut or issues as they get older where they become more sensitive to weird foods, or they end up having gut dysbiosis or gut brain axis interactions that seemingly are like throwing awry their health status. And I don't want it to happen to me. So I just try to take the optimization approach to as many things as I can. And for me, this was a formula that was highly recommended to me by multiple people that I deferred to for my own education in areas that I was less informed on. So this has been the formula that actually had a significant amount of research to support its efficacy, whereas it seemed like a lot of other companies were just picking random fancy sounding strains out of a hat and then kind of just shoving them into a formula and then putting it on the market with pretty bold claims that were unfounded the majority of the time. So for me, again, like I said, this is the one I've been deferring to, and I would recommend giving a shot if you were looking for something like this. I have seen multiple anecdotes at this point of people with gut issues that found improvements or resolution of certain things by actually introducing this to their supplement regimen. For me, the noticeable changes are essentially imperceivable because for me, I don't really have any gut issues and I want to keep it that way. So that's mainly why I'm relying on it. So again, for some people, do I think it's going to move the needle significantly if you don't have any gut issues? Maybe not. This again, for me, is a preventative strategy for people with gut issues, maybe more helpful and impactful in a short acute time frame. But I want to give that disclaimer on there so you guys have full context about why I'm using it, why it might have some utility for another person, it might be more useful or what have you. You can check it out, the link in description below, and in order to get a discount, you can get 15% off your first month supply of Seeds DS01 Daily Symbiotic by using code Derek at checkout. You can check it out if you're interested, and back to our regularly scheduled programming. And a good diet model, is it stupid? Is it smart? Well, to be honest, some organ meats I think are absolutely worth implementing. Like for example, liver has the highest nutrient density probably per cooked ounce out of any meat you could be eating. Now that doesn't mean you OD on it and have a fucking pound a day, you know, like Liver King might do, but it certainly is useful in having, like for me, I have an ounce a day, and that's kind of like my nature's multivitamin is what they call it. And I think it's a pretty fair name given what it gives you. So this is Cronometer, which is one of my favorite sites for tracking micro and macronutrient breakdowns rather than something like MyFitnessPal, which is just, you know, calories, or will even tell you that you're like, there's like this weird thing where it tells you you're like, have an eating disorder if you're dieting too hard and shit like that. There's some interesting limitations to the MyFitnessPal platform that Cronometer is just my overall favorite one for breaking down actual, you know, mineral balance, micronutrient intake, and it's often overlooked because most people are just looking at protein, calories, etc. And I think as you get into the more nuanced, you know, deep dives into performance optimization, micronutrients should absolutely be assessed because most people are deficient in many areas, to be honest. So liver, let's put that in here. We have beef liver here, put in 1 ounce. So when you look at the breakdown, we have the B vitamins, we have vitamin A, as you can see, is almost at 300% with just 1 ounce. We have B12 completely maxed out from, and keep in mind, this is like an RDA perspective here. So it doesn't mean that because you're at 834% that this is like, you know, way overkill necessarily. Because again, fat soluble versus not fat soluble vitamins in terms of what you're just going to urinate out versus what is going to be stored when you're in excess quantities. Ultimately, I think from a nutrient intake perspective, I think 1 ounce of beef liver per day is kind of like my limit where I deem it to be a little bit overkill if I'm doing more than that. But it is absolutely worthwhile to get some level of beef liver per week, in my opinion. And again, it's so potent that you could be getting multiple weeks worth of vitamin A in like, you know, a matter of 1 serving pretty goddamn easily. But again, be mindful of partitioning it out more reasonably, in my opinion, would be ideal. Now, again, copper, something that a lot of people are focusing on their zinc intake, but then don't think about counterbalancing copper. Vitamin A and bioavailable B12, something that is often overlooked as well. Folate intake, rather than having, bullshit folic acid, having high quality folate in a food source, bioavailable B vitamins. Now, again, something that goes overlooked too is choline intake, and this is where beef liver really shines too. It's not represented on here necessarily, but when you look at choline intake of the average human and homocysteine levels in blood work and some of the mediators of high quality cognitive function and fatty liver disease prevention and some of the things that come along with choline intake that are heavily overlooked, it's no wonder why beef liver is so dramatic on its ability to impact somebody's vitality, quality of life with just a minimal amount of food, because it's so dense in things like I said, vitamin A, B12, but also choline. This is something that most people are really deficient in and is absolutely worthwhile on touching on. How much choline do you need per day? Adequate intake as established by the Food and Nutrition Board of the National Institute of Medicine for adults is 550 milligrams per day for men, 425 per day for women. But adequate intakes, RDAs, are often heavily missing the mark for individuals who have higher requirements, top tier athletes, more muscle-bound individuals, and just in general, to be honest, they're typically off the mark in many different areas for different vitamins, minerals, etc. And we all know how brutally underestimated some of the AIs have proved to be in the past couple decades, and there's evidence suggesting that the AI for choline is also far too low. One study showed that 2,200 milligrams per day of choline protected against the DNA damage that otherwise occurred in people consuming only 550 milligrams. This is the study if you want to go look at it. It is called Choline Intake Exceeding Current Dietary Recommendations Preserves Markers of Cellular Methylation in a Genetic Subgroup of Folate Compromised Men. Now again, this is more so going to be applicable for people with MTHFR polymorphisms, but that is a huge subset of the population, is absolutely worth evaluating in my opinion. And even this 550, a lot of people are off the mark, to be honest. There are not enough studies on choline. It's a severely lacking area of research considering how important it is for brain health, and personally, I shoot for about a gram a day. So 900 to 1200 milligrams of choline per day. A big chunk of that can be achieved through regular liver and egg yolk consumption, but supplementation can help you as well if you need to. But here is a surprising but very, very insightful breakdown of where the most dense sources of choline are in the diet. Milligrams of choline per 100 grams of food. Now keep in mind, 100 grams, not that much food. Mutton, pork loin, bacon, wheat germ, turkey heart, turkey liver, raw egg, often seen to be like the pinnacle of fucking masculine foods that help your testosterone, your brain function, your everything. Look where beef liver ranks, bro. This high. You're almost at 500 milligrams per 100 grams of actual beef liver. It is the most dense, micronutrient rich fucking food you could be eating, to be honest. Now, it almost sucks how Liver King has made it like a bit of a meme at this point. When you say anything to do with liver, people think of him, but it's like, I have been on the liver train for a fucking while personally. So I would highly recommend implementing it into your diet if you don't. Based on your needs though, plug your diet into something like Chronometer and see where you're deficient, see what holes you need to be filling. Oftentimes you'll find that something as simple as an ounce of this can really get you closer to a level of optimization you didn't even know you needed. Now, when we look at something like heart, is this something I currently eat? No, it's not. However, I would not overlook its utility either. If we have one full heart, are you gonna eat a full heart? Probably not, but let's just put in, it's not that much. Let's be honest. So look at this breakdown of micronutrients just from this ounce of beef liver and one heart. We could probably choose a cup of heart instead or something more reasonable, but we are maxing out in a lot of areas here. This is something that, again, when it comes to organ meats, it depends again on what your preference is when it comes to things that taste good versus things that are disgusting to you. I'm not saying you should do this necessarily. I just think it's an overlooked area that might be worth evaluating if you are deficient in certain things and are looking for high density, big ROI mediators of micronutrients, bioavailable micronutrients. Now again, personally, would I add in heart into my diet? Probably fucking not. That's why I kind of defer mainly to beef liver and then other high quality foods. And you can absolutely not even need both of these. But when it comes to this guy who's trying to optimize, he is a top tier athlete. He is, by many considered the best footballer in the world. He eats liver, suns his balls, takes ice baths, and uses blue light glasses. Do you need to do any of that stuff? No, you don't. You absolutely do not need to. However, some of these things are relatively low hanging fruit. If you can literally just, toss an ounce of liver in your mouth, chew it up and be done in a matter of 30 seconds each day, is it worth doing to get some of this benefit out of it? If you are deficient in these areas, I would say yes. You know, the ROI on it is pretty high. You know, for me, heart doesn't seem appealing, nearly as appealing as liver, but maybe it has some utility as well. Some of these organ meats, I think they're disgusting to some people, and understandably so. They will never even consider adding them to their diet. But again, it is not like you are a meme fucking ancestral weirdo if you eat some of this stuff. At the end of the day, I think it's absolutely a reasonable thing to be considering adding in. Do you need to do this other stuff though? You know, I would say ice baths absolutely have utility. Do I think sunning your balls has the ROI for the time investment? Absolutely not. Do I think blue light glasses are worthwhile? I think they can be. But again, it's not like the end of the world if you use it versus not. Like, it's not gonna be a fucking massive differentiating factor if you have high performance or not. Rather, I think a lot of people are using blue light glasses to kind of, you know, tell themselves that they're doing something good when they're still looking at their phones, keeping their CNS fucking redlined by looking at stressful things on their phone, like right before they go to sleep, and keeping their phone right beside them, buzzing off the chain. Like, these are things that are, like, ultimately, if you're using your blue light glasses to get away, to think that you're like fine doing that, like, you're kind of missing the point, in my opinion. Do they have utility? I think so. I just think a lot of people like miss the overarching reason why it might be useful and why, like, what they should really be focusing on. I think a lot of people are missing like the common denominator / low-hanging fruit in this whole discussion and use biohacks as like an excuse, to be honest. But again, liver, ice baths, totally on board. Blue light glasses absolutely have their place. Sunning your balls, not worth it in my opinion. But some of this other stuff he's doing, you know, eating heart, eating, you know, obscure, like odd looking foods that, you know, he thinks other people are not doing because they don't realize the performance enhancing advantage it can actually give. Maybe. Depends on your diet. If your diet is dialed in, you absolutely do not need any of this shit. But it can be useful to get you to where you want to be at the end of the day. And for those who are trying to find a more, you know, easy way to track this stuff and figure out like what is the micronutrient density of, I don't know, like the strawberries I'm eating or the banana I'm having or the bison or the whatever, adding it into your daily diet and then checking out the balance of micronutrients, vitamins, minerals, carb balance, fat balance, protein intake, etc., and proportionally allocating accordingly based on your goals. You know, definitely worthwhile in my opinion, especially if you're new to this. It can be hard to figure out, like, am I actually meeting my needs in order for optimization as a high tier athlete or even as just a normal high functioning individual who's an entrepreneur or somebody who's trying to get the most that I can out of my body. You know, we're not all top tier fucking superstar football players, and some of us still just want to be as healthy and high functioning as possible. And this is an absolutely worthwhile platform, in my opinion, to kind of get you to where you know what you are eating is actually reaching your goals and optimizing you, and then from there you can kind of, you know, play it by ear a little bit more. Similarly to how most of us play it by ear on macros at this point, I think a lot of people still need to get there on micros, and this is something that can definitely help assist you in that, and was critical for me while I was, you know, learning about the diversity of food groups and whatnot, and what can kind of, you know, backfill certain requirements that I'm deficient in, like oftentimes magnesium deficient, potassium deficient, high quality amounts of folate. There are a lot of areas that people will find like, holy shit, I didn't even realize I was missing this, and this is absolutely worth checking. Vitamin K, often deficient as well. Vitamin D, often brutally deficient. Like, these are things that are absolutely worth even assessing where supplementation is warranted too, so you're not blindly taking a bunch of shit. A worthwhile service for sure. So check out chronometer.com if you want to get some insight into that. It was absolutely worthwhile for me when I was trying to figure this stuff out. And still is to this day. I still put my stuff in sometimes to see where I can dial things in even more. So check it out, and if you like the video, drop a like, comment, helps the algorithm. Drop any insight you have on what you think about his diet and his interesting practices. If you want to follow me on other social media platforms, I am on Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter, TikTok, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. If you want to support me, anything in the video description helps achieve that. This is a weird outro. We have my preventative medicine, hormone replacement therapy platform. We have Gorilla Mind, nootropic formulas, and pre-workout formulas that design myself. And I feel like the most notable mention is the diet model linked. It is the one I would recommend that makes it kind of like dieting 101 for newbies who are trying to figure out how to not only maximize muscle gain and actual strength outcomes, but in addition, hit their micronutrients. From a health perspective, it's often overlooked and people are just getting their protein, calories, and calling it a day and backfilling their other macros, but are often overlooking their magnesium, their potassium, their micronutrients, their vitamins, etc. And it is absolutely worth having something laid out and done for you that you know is going to kind of achieve those metrics without having to overthink it and like sit there and like dissect fucking nutritional labels all day. So there's a lot of turnkey made for you diets within that diet breakdown in the ebook. It's basically a short ebook that can be read easily in a couple hours, if I recall correctly, at least under a day, worst case scenario, and basically breaks down all the science of what you need to know behind setting up a high quality diet from a health and vitality perspective and performance. And then it breaks down some like turnkey cookie cutter diet models that are good for a basis to start off of, and then you can tweak accordingly based on your own individual needs. So you can check that out. I'd highly recommend it, and anything else I'm associated with, it's all down there. Thank you guys for watching. Talk to you soon.